This is Abnormal Entertainment.
2, 3, 4.
Walked into the tunnel just to find the light. Hunted for old demons, looking for a fight. Looked up at the stars, seemed to go forever. There must be a way, it all fits together. Fell into the quicksand, held on to the vines. Never could quite color, stay within the lines. Feels like I have wings, I can fly wherever. This is just a way, it all fits together. Finally saw the world through rose-colored glasses. Gonna share my journey to small and large masses. Give up on my life, no sir, me never. This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together.
Hey everybody, this is Daniel Garza and welcome to another episode of Put It Together. I'd like to start as usual thanking my producer, Mr. Kevin Moyers, for all his help and support. Thank you, sir. Inviting all of you to join us at abnormalentertainment.com, where you can find all the shows on the network. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just look for Daniel G. Garza or at Little Mexican, and you'll find everything I'm working on. Pictures, information about my guests, extra sound bites, anything, everything on there. Go check it out. Today, I'm really excited. I'm here with Don Raber. And the reason I messed up is because we were going back and forth on, but we'll talk about that in a minute. You are an ethical porn star. And,
yes.
And I want to ask you about that in a minute. But First of all, I want to admire your tattoos. You've got, it's like a billboard of tattoos.
Precisely. It's self-expression. Each one of them says something.
Is there a particular one that's your favorite?
Curious. Right there.
Oh, is that what it says?
That's what it says.
Oh, wow. Where did that come from?
Emotion. About 9, 10, 11 years into sobriety, whenever I would do a share, I would finish my share with saying, you want to know how I stayed sober 9 years? You want to know how I stayed sober 11 years? Stay curious.
That's pretty cool.
The simplest way I say it, curiosity, is the secret to a rich, good life. Because the minute we don't ask questions anymore, we're like, yeah, I'm done.
That's pretty interesting because I'm 11 years clean and sober.
Yeah.
And people tell me, how do you do it? Because I'm not a big meeting person, but I have a big spiritual group that I belong to. But I tell them it's keeping busy. Like, I'm always, what can I do now?
Have a sense of purpose.
What can I do now?
Doing this shit.
Yeah. What else can I
Yeah.
do? And if I was high or drunk right now, I wouldn't be able to meet people. So
You'd be focused on something.
yeah,
Not this.
Not this. No. Probably be recording myself doing something nasty.
Now, there's nothing wrong with recording myself. I do
No,
that all the time.
Nothing against recording yourself. I'm
Just a different genre.
I'm pretty narcissistic. I am gay, so there's that. But let's get started with your
Yes.
story because
Yes.
we actually connected on Facebook.
Yeah.
And now, am I correct that you approached me?
I approached you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May I ask how or
Yeah.
why? Just out of curiosity.
I saw your post. Again, I'm on Facebook so rarely. I actually now have somebody working on it for me. And I was just scrolling through and I saw you hit up somebody and say, hey, I saw you post on October 13th. Would you like to be on my podcast? Now, I'm a businessman and I'm interested in getting my message out there. But also my life purpose is to get my message out there, who I am and what I'm up to. And when I see something like, oh, somebody's doing a podcast, I say, here's an opportunity.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And then I saw your profile. I'm like, who is this dude? First, I thought it was one of those scam accounts because your picture looks really hot. Let's put it out there for anybody when this goes on the air and you guys find him, you'll know what I'm talking about. If it's I was like, this guy's a hack, like it's fake account.
I have a lot of people saying, "Is this the real Ray Dalton?"
Yeah.
Now you know my other name.
So I went there and checked, and I was like, "Oh, he is real."
Yeah.
And I called my boyfriend over, and I go, "Christian, look,
Yeah.
he wants me to interview him."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Are you going?" I'm like, "Hell yeah!"
Yeah.
At midnight.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I want to hear your
Yeah.
story, and
Yeah.
thank you for contacting me. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
It's an
My
honor
pleasure.
to be asked.
Yeah.
So, Don Raber,
Yes.
how do you put it together?
Wow. I like how you say that. A few weeks ago, when we were talking about it, I'm like, oh, how am I going to present myself? What kind of storyline am I going to have? And it hit me as I was in this cheap hotel in Orlando. Why do I just had that moment just looking around the hotel, and I go, why do I live in cheap hotels when I got a beautiful apartment in West Hollywood?
Yeah.
And the answer is, I will settle for nothing less than living up to my life purpose. Now, what is that life purpose? That life purpose is touching people's lives, specifically men. I believe I believe in the transgender movement. I believe in female movement. I believe in male movement. I believe what's missing is a true male movement.
Okay.
And, but more than that, it wasn't really a choice. It was actually why God put me here. So all I'm doing is showing up for it.
Okay.
There's other people who are showing up for women's movements. There's other people. I'm also passionate about the trans movement as well. Just to, but it's about human beings, but the human experience, and raising consciousness and asking questions and
Right.
and having people think differently and openly, and again,
that makes sense, and I guess the universe puts our paths. Because there was a time when I would feel guilty that I wasn't out there protesting with Latinos, or I wasn't protesting gay rights, or I wasn't. But I've been doing HIV education for 16 years, going to schools, and I thought that's
you're doing your version.
That's my path.
Everybody's got their own calling,
and you got to recognize it.
Yeah, and good on you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It took me a while to figure that out. How long did it take you to figure out what your path would be?
Well, it coincided with figuring out who I am. So, let me just talk about that, who I am, because I'm one of many things is I'm a certified life coach.
Okay.
And I participated in many different organizations and reading books and steps and, programs and such like that. And there's many different ways to figure out who we are. But the way that I was taught is the way that I teach, which is really simple. And it wasn't because of this book, but it's actually laid out very well in the preface to the 4 Agreements.
Okay.
We were born perfect. I'm sorry, we were not born into sin. We were not born sinners. This is my belief. It's not the truth. This is how I see it. Lives are better when this is the actual belief, or the actual, if you take action based on that.
Okay.
And what that looks like is, to figure out who I am, or who we are, like, what was your first experience as a human being, as a child? You weren't cynical when you were three months old, So it's who you were born. It's who you were being when you were 1, when you were 5, when you were 12, when you were 25, 45. There's a through thread who I've always been. And what I discovered is, I was that person who was always I was born and raised Mennonite, which is similar to the Amish. And at church, I was always over talking to the girls. Because in the Mennonite church, the women are on one side, the men are on the other side. Right. And there tends to be this, the guys are over here and the women are over there.
Right.
I don't have an opinion about that specifically, but I noticed that I was always having a great time over there with the girls. And just an observation, right? But I was also congregational song leader at 16. I can sing. I love singing. I'm passionate about it. Ask anybody that grew up with me, and they're like, yeah, Don can sing. That was what he was about. So, but it was a leadership way I went about it. I wasn't just, passive, should I say. Okay. I was very leadership oriented. But I was also always the communicator, always like talking to people, always, out there. At the same time, I also had that inferiority complex and I was afraid. But I think we all have that. We're all afraid of what people think and, does my voice count and who am I?
And it's exciting. Always the most outgoing people are usually the most insecure.
Yeah. So what I've discovered by all the work that I've done, and now I'm about to deliver to you who I am. And this is why I'm on this planet. I'm a leader causing leaders, creating shameless self-expression and sexual freedom. This is why God put me on the planet. There's that emotion, that what do they call the truth serum?
And it's really it's surprising because this is one of the best things about the show. And I was just talking about somebody I interviewed yesterday. One of the best things about doing the show is that conversations rarely go the direction that I think they're going to go, which is why I love doing this. I've been doing this for 6 years, and every interview is an experience. Why are you getting emotional?
It gives me life. It gives me joy. These three concepts. Whenever I think about them, and the fact that I'm showing up every day for them. It's not just the concept that I wish I was. That's how you know when it's you, when it's not so much about something you want to get to or attain. It's actually who you are intrinsically.
Okay.
Now, the real challenge is to actually be that authentically, ongoingly, showing up for who we are.
Especially where we are. We're in West Hollywood.
Yeah.
There is always, everybody's always got a masquerade going on.
I love that. I love this because I travel around the country and the world. And just so you know, Los Angeles has the strongest opinions about it than any other city. Like everybody has an opinion about Los Angeles. Yeah. But not everybody has an opinion about Atlanta. Not everybody has an opinion about Phoenix. Everybody has an opinion about Los Angeles. And we in Los Angeles go, really? We're just living.
Right.
We just get about the chill act of living. That's my experience here.
And I believe that. I believe that we live our lives until we congregate.
Very much so. Very much so.
And then it's
very much so.
It's the Joneses competition.
And then that's where I challenge you. Remember who I am? I won't settle for an ordinary get-together. Somebody's gossip, and I look at them like, not around me, you won't. I call them out. I really do. Now, this is one of the best examples of that. But this is a trans over to one of the most impactful experiences, sources that I found in my life was given me by someone gossiping about someone else. I was overhearing a conversation. So there was these two people in a meeting. Oh my God, can you believe so-and-so is going to these meetings that are called landmark education. And they're taking his guys there and they're not doing this and da-da-da. It was just this venomous, gossipy, he's a bad man, was basically what he was saying. And I heard the word landmark education. And I walked away because I wasn't part of the conversation. 2 years later, I was at the gym. And there's this girl that I always seen how she carried herself. Young lady. Fit, going, sense of purpose. Always said hi as she walked by me. We never knew each other's names. And one day she stopped and said, so, I find you curious. Long story short, she was the one who said the word landmark. And I'm like, talk to me about that. I've heard about that. What is it? It's one of the best things that came up to my life. But here's the thing. When someone gossips and they're speaking venomous, ask yourself the question, why? Because here's the thing. This person hadn't checked it out. Contempt prior to investigation. Here's the thing, anything that requires a lot of work and effort, people get really judgmental of it because they get confronted.
Right.
And that's what that was. That's all that was. It was just him facing his, being confronted with his own fears. Not a bad person, but it was just him expressing himself in a public forum, which I feel is somewhat inappropriate, like Twitter. And it's like, that's not what Twitter and Facebook's for, being venomous and gossiping. That's not what it's for.
And I'll be honest, I like the occasional gossip as long as it's just good. But
you want to know the difference between good and what's gossip and not gossip? It's not gossip if the names aren't mentioned.
There you go.
Then you're talking about the subject matter.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
And then I have this. I always think I have this show where I'm talking about putting things together, and then if I post on my page things that break people down, then it's a little. I will admit to this. I've told people before when I was going through cancer and I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning because I'd been up. I slept all day from treatment.
Right.
I would go on people's pages that were arguing over something, and I would just put in my 2 cents worth, even if it was wrong, because it kept me entertained. And then I would delete everything when I was done. It's like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to bed now.
Again, that was your path.
But for anybody who I did that to, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But okay, so we're talking about facing yourself, knowing your path, being honest, and there's a vulnerability that comes with that, which I'm seeing now.
Yeah.
Because, this is where I was going with Hollywood, because we are in a very image-driven environment.
Los Angeles was built on Hollywood.
Right.
So it's a largely superficial, look good kind of.
Right.
So yeah, it's here.
Yet you are so in touch with your feelings and your emotions. Mm-hmm. And when I would see, when I walked in today, I was like, oh wow, like if I didn't know who he was, I would be intimidated.
Yeah.
Is it easy for you to balance those contradictions?
See, I don't see it all as contradictions. And
okay.
This is perfect segue to I am Don Raber and Ray Dalton. I tell people, let me just make it very clear. Don Raber is the name, it's who was born. Right. I took on a name later on in life to reflect my adult industry life. It's appropriate. It's, taking on an alias, like Ray Dalton. It's just, it's work, it's professional. There's certain things that we get because of the conservatism in the United States. We get bombarded with things that people who don't understand or aren't open-minded about it can throw at us. So it's best not to give our real name first.
Right.
It's just what it is. It's
the industry.
But the best way I say it doesn't matter what name you call me. It's 3 letters. I'm always me. I am still the same person on the set and with clients that I am right here with you, as I am with my family. It doesn't change. It's not a persona.
And I don't mean this doubting. I just mean it because I know people are going out there going, really?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Because I know who I am.
How are you? Okay.
It's just be yourself. I'm going to be real honest. It's my Mennonite upbringing.
Yeah?
It really is. My mother and my family, I tell them, I thank them for me being who I am today. I say, it doesn't matter, anybody else, like I meet them and they're like, oh my God, you're a good guy and you're actually saying hi to me and you're, I'm like, doesn't matter how many tattoos and muscles you put on me, I'm still the skinny Mennonite boy from Ohio. And I make sure that stays in place in a good way. Sorry, my eyes water. I'm not crying right now.
I'm not crying. You're crying.
Maybe. It really is. And the reason that I come back to that is not that long ago, I had to realize that I was given a gift. And that gift was I was born into the specific family I was born into. Now, many people would look at being born into a Mennonite home as,
right.
Pulling away was difficult. Today, the good values, the groundedness, the simplicity that I go back to, is from that. I value it. I tell them every time and I spend time with them. They know the work I do. I came out to them a few years ago. They haven't thrown me away. They haven't thrown me away through my, craziness of my alcohol and drugs. They haven't thrown me away through, coming out and doing this. They were there for me through my cancer. They were there for my, recovery. They were there when I had my seizure, later on in life, They've always been there. But the thing is, I want to go back to who am I and what I'm up to and how do I put it together?
Right.
Because I really like that phrase, because it's putting it together and it's not always about having it together.
No.
But it's also up to interpretation. What's that look like? To me, the description of putting it together or having it together, maybe even a combination of both, is being clear on who you are and being clear on your path and asking for help. We can't do anything by ourselves.
Right.
I have an employee and I have a life coach.
Okay.
I'm not doing it by myself. Now, I did it largely by myself for many years, but I've also had, sponsors, someone to talk to.
Right.
For many years, and then I always have friends, but then I'm always dialoguing with people. I have conversations, deep, meaningful conversations with people every day, if not once a day, 2 or 3 times a day. Every day.
Yeah.
Now, there's this thing, I really talk about this, and you mentioned this, and I like how you presented it, which is similar to the way I presented it. In early recovery, go to meetings. You gotta just submerge yourself into that because it's something has to give, something has to shift, something has to, and that's how it is with anything. There's this time of really looking and grappling with what's going on, and then you start to take action and you begin to grow and grow and grow.
Right.
And what you and I are doing is that we've grown and we've not forgotten, we don't despise or diminish,
right,
but rather respect that. And there's things that you and I do, which you pointed to, which is living the life that it says that it's intended to give you.
Right.
So the best way I describe it is touching people's lives, interacting with them at all times. I have been given the grace that I now have the ability. The first time I did it, I didn't do it well, but the ability to look at someone in the middle of an argument or middle of me trying to be right or in the middle of me being just inappropriate. And I remember the first time I looked at him like, hold on. Right now I'm talking out of my ass. Let me just stop and let's start a new conversation because that's not what I want to do. I had never been able to do that before.
That's pretty awesome. It's
that
really
first
liberating.
time was very liberating.
Yes.
Holy, wow.
Because I've had interviews where it's going in a direction that I don't feel is productive or
Right.
constructive in any way.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? Let's stop.
Right. Right.
And let's start this
Yeah.
over again because
Yeah.
somewhere we lost it. And
Hold on. Let me talk to you about the because. Because you were off purpose. Let's get on purpose.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's what's our purpose? What's
Yeah.
your purpose? What's my purpose?
There's a couple of interviews that have never seen the light because
It got off purpose.
I listen to them and I'm like,
That's life, right?
this is not a put it
Yeah.
together story.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
I'm turning everybody else down story, and that's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so
I want to pick up the thread you said we were talking about being on purpose.
yes,
Isn't that the real secret? Always be on purpose. Which means being conscious and cognizant of our life and what we're up to. And
now we're human,
yeah,
and we tend to get sidetracked. There's always a shiny object somewhere, and we're off after it. How
So
do you
true.
get back on track?
So true. I am a life coach, and one of my life coach clients would do that. And I saw that. And again, the beauty of being a life coach, you get to apply your own life to whatever you were coaching somebody on. It's so brilliant, you know. And we called it the concept, the new, bright, shiny. Well, how do you do the new, bright, shiny and not stay off your course? And that's what life's about. To me, it's like, how do you look at that objectively while you're still over here instead of going over there? You're still here on your life purpose and see the new bright shiny. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
There has to be, the technical term is being conservative.
Okay.
Sounds radical, doesn't it? Like the dichotomy there. I'm a liberal and I'm a conservative. In certain issues. In other words, if the new bright shiny comes, I'm all about it, but I don't run and grab it just yet.
Right.
That's what recovery has given me. That's what all the personal spiritual work has given me. I actually have a master's in life in that. Seeing something and considering it. Is that what I'm up to? Is that in alignment with my life purpose? Remember I said who I am? And if it is, I start to take it on. What part of this works and what part of it doesn't. If it doesn't, I move right along and find the next bright shiny. But the trick is, you always have to have a new bright shiny. Because if you're not getting new bright shinies, life becomes mundane. We grow through those new bright shiny experiences.
It's interesting that we talk about that because that's exactly where I am at the moment.
Yeah.
Exactly where I am.
Which one?
The
non-new bright shiny or the new bright shiny?
I need a new.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've become addicted to workshops and classes and trainings and always learning something new.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I want to go do acrobatics now, or a stuntman.
Yeah.
So go figure.
Yeah. So I think this is perfect because when you said becoming addicted to workshops and such like that, it just triggered something in me, which I think is a really good thing to segue into here. I had done Lemmick education. I had done, the 12 steps, 5 different organizations within the 12-step groups, including, the sexual, addiction, meetings. And about, 14, 15 years into sobriety, I was working, doing this, doing seminars and self-discovery and what's next, what I'm up to, what am I really passionate about. And I remember as a 14, 15-year-old, I would go out in the cornfields, and number one, it was about getting naked out there and being an exhibitionist. Yes, I'm an exhibitionist. I love being naked in public. And I would like to go tanning. Well, I wanted an all over tan. So I would go in the cornfield and knock down some corn rows and lay down a blanket and be out there and jerk off. You know what I mean? So that was where it all kind of began for me. And then through life, there was this thread of a heightened sense of sexuality. And I was always horny and always very sexual. Okay. Well, 2 years into recovery, it was out of control. So I did go to the S meetings, and it did help that. It helped slow it down and give me a sense of self and manage that. But there was always a sense of there's something wrong with me. I have to control this. What is this thing? And I really, honestly, curious, right? I never let go of it. There was this constant, sometimes it was a curiosity, sometimes it was self-judgment. But there was this constant pull, I need freedom in this. There has to be some freedom here. There has to be freedom here. I wasn't going to settle until I got some sense of self and freedom in here. At this, at Landmark, there's this, I'd been doing it for, about 2-3 years, and I decided to do this sex and intimacy seminar. And I said to myself, wait a minute, you've done a lot of seminars, you've done a lot of stuff on this sexual behavior of yours. At some point, if you keep doing them, you're just hiding out and not doing the real work. And I said to myself, this is the last one. This is the one that's going to make that shit or get off the pot. Figure it out. And that was poignant because, you know what I got from that?
What?
I ain't broken. There's nothing to be fixed. This is how God designed me. And therefore good. Well, wait a minute. If God designed me this way, We call that a gift, don't we? Well, what do we do with God's gifts that we give them, that we were given?
Share them.
Share them. Now there's a responsibility. Literally, it was in a moment I got that. Yes, those are real tears. And forever since then, I will say for the most part, the addiction part of my sexuality is gone. Still highly sexual, but highly motivated to touch people's lives through the sexual being who I am. And having them get their sexuality and their aliveness. What I discovered is, if you want to, touch people in the area of money, you coach them on money. You go to a money specialist. If you want to touch, marriage and, a counselor, you get that. But if you want to touch every part of someone's life, coach them on their sexual behavior. Sex touch is the core. Everything in our life is affected by our sex and sexuality. And I've seen it again and again and again and again and again. Yeah. Pretty crazy, isn't it?
I'm not crying, you're crying.
I see it again. People will have messaged me months later and said, this is how you affected me. This is what changed in me.
Nothing, and from my spiritual learnings, I know that nothing is coincidence. Everything's lined up.
Right.
I wanted to get here early because I had another appointment afterwards. The other appointment canceled, which I thought, this will give us more time. So when you texted me and said, hey, can you hold on a little bit? I was like, I'm in a rush. For those of you who follow me, you know my story. All of the new listeners, I'm a cancer survivor. I went through anal cancer.
Me too, by the way.
Not
anal, but testicular. Go ahead.
2015.
2015. Oh, that's recent.
So 3 years ago, And in 2016, there were so many complications with radiation, I had to have colostomy.
Yeah.
So, and we realized that it's permanent. It's not going away.
Yeah.
So my sex life pretty much stopped.
Changes. Yeah.
Mostly because I'm so... I feel broken.
Yeah.
I feel like my body is not worth touching.
Yeah.
I feel like anybody who would see me would be disgusted. Although I know many, many people who have lived with it for a long time and have amazing sex lives.
Yeah.
I'm still not comfortable. I want to be. I mean, I'm a Latin gay man. Of course I want to have sex.
Right.
But I don't know how to be there for my partner or show him, hey, I'm ready to be touched.
Right.
So this is kind of segues to what you've been talking about. Because when you said the cornfields, I was like, I remember my parents had a ranch, and I remember going hiding behind an orange tree and just I'd go out there for a while. How?
It's what young men do, basically. It's about sexual exploration. We're all that way.
Growing up in a community that's very in touch with religion.
Yes.
And now putting yourself out there. How was that transition? How did you get so comfortable?
Perfect. At 18 and a half, after I had already been baptized in the church and knew, then about a year and a half into it, I began to experience these feelings and understanding that, wait, I think I'm gay. And I knew that that didn't correlate with the religion, the Mennonite religion. So I knew I had to leave. But you're not given a textbook on how to leave. You're not given a textbook on how to come out. This is 1986.
Oh, wow.
The Mennonites don't have computers. Well, some of them do now, but for business only. Right. But all I can say is right here, that instinct pulled me forward. It was blindly. I think I'm doing the right thing, but I just knew I had to. That's the best way I can. It was uncomfortable. It was difficult. It was scary, very frightening. I thank God I met a man in a bar in Akron, Ohio, and he became my first boyfriend. And it's like something out of a fucking movie. He came in his Lincoln Mark IV to the farmhouse, and I loaded up my belongings, and I was gone.
Wow.
In the middle of the night. I'm going to say his name because he helped give me a little groundedness when I needed it. His name is George Mulder. He lives in Florida now. That relationship lasted, about a year or something like that, right? But I remember so many today, I still live and breathe some of those fundamental principle words that he gave me.
All right.
That's why I love mentoring younger guys. It's up to us to mentor the younger guys. They've got questions, even if they don't think they do.
Right.
They've got a lot of questions. So I really wanted to, it just came out, I didn't plan on doing that, to acknowledge him. For really honestly being there in a really critical point in my life.
Right.
So he was that support for me and helped me get an apartment, and I got the jobs. Now, mind you, the Mennonite kids, we learned to work. I had a work ethic, and I got jobs in restaurants, and it was on. Once I get my jobs, honestly, I know how to do that. And it was on. I started to succeed, because I have, it just, the drive was there and it was good.
Right. Either you have it or you don't.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. So how did I get from the shame and guilt, which is part of my experience of being Mennonite and being gay, to being as authentically, truly free as I can? Right. Which most days, we're never perfect, but most days I'm sexually free. Never giving up, never settling for less than what we know we can be. Now, there were many times in my life where I had self-insecurity, and I didn't feel like I really belonged here. But I never was one of those people, that... The only time ever in my life said, I don't think I want to live anymore, was about a week before I got sober. That was a real aha moment for me. Thank God. And I believe it was my Mennonite background that came to the foreground when I had that thought and go, no, that's not you. So I pulled on my roots, I pulled on my family, I pulled on my culture. And that actually saved me in that moment and got me, no. You're better than this. This is not you. Mm-hmm. So how did I go about that? Sexual Compulsives Anonymous, they have a pamphlet called, Out of Shame. And that one is a brilliant book about letting go of the guilt and shame of being gay. Changed my life. It really helped me. Now, I'm going to go radical for a second. Ready? We're going radical.
Let's do it.
Get ready. Gay is a gift. It's not a curse.
Right.
In the same way I was given the gift of high sexuality, I was also, the universe said, you have, first of all, let me just preface, I don't believe we're gay or straight. There's this gay lifestyle, straight lifestyle. It's all fluid. I've come to understand later in life. Predominantly, my interest is in sex with men and relationships with men. Predominantly. I'm not disgusted at the idea of having sex with a woman because I do occasionally. Not often. So I'm not into that category. For me, that book helped me realize that being gay was actually a gift, something I was designed. Then again, well, maybe, just maybe, the gay gene, the gay community, were designed for something special in the universe.
Yeah.
Now it's up to me, what's that look like? Only answer I have is, we're not encumbered down by children. Children are a huge responsibility, so therefore we're freed up for social issues and social out there in the world, with social issues and touching people's lives, and that's how I see it. It's not right, it's not wrong. It's how I view it, and therefore gives me life and there's no bad side effects to that.
I tell people, I'm like, we're not just great designers and cooks. We understand pain. We understand isolation, depression, anxiety.
Yes.
There are so many things that people, because of the word gay and this feeling that we're always in a great, fabulous mood, they don't realize that there's all this angst that we go through.
Yeah. And also, to remember, we also know of the angst, but don't necessarily have to continue the angst.
Right.
But we can identify with other people going through their angst. Yeah. Therefore, we are highly qualified, if we work through our own, as we're working through our own, to touch people's lives positively. And so that's how I look at it as, it's a true gift of being in touch with these different gifts that we're given.
So, we're talking about the liberation. We've talked about coming out of your background.
The Mennonite background, yeah.
Yeah, and I totally understand that because I was raised Catholic, and I believe that I highly believe in the Catholic guilt. And I say that as a joke, but it's really what brings me back down and go.
Can I point to something about the Catholic Church, which I actually have tattooed on my body?
Sure.
I don't know if you should see it. The Prayer of St. Francis, right there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, to me, I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. Now, if that Prayer of St. Francis isn't spiritual and appropriate for every human being across the world, Lord, make me a channel of thy peace. Where there is hatred, I may bring love. And so on and so forth. Now, again, I was given the gift of having the most wonderful mother in the world. She was the prime example. We had no money. Many times our rent was handed to us after church on Sunday by the deacon.
Wow.
Yeah. She was always looking, where can I give? Not financially, but where can we, as 9 kids and a single mother, help other people? Always, always, always.
Goes around, comes around.
Yeah. So I say, so that's a tribute to my mother. Also the Ravens woman, but that's her, and her name's written across here. So, it's a reminder and a tribute to you. It's about really acknowledging, who I am is also largely derived by her. It's like, our experiences and such. So you were talking about, the other thing I really want to touch on is how key. Why do I live my life balls out fully every day? I have faced life death and faced life. Yeah, right? You like that, Freudian? Good.
Which is true, because
that's it.
It is life.
But you can't face life until you face death.
Right. But everyday life. I mean, not okay. If we bring it down just to us, yes. Yeah. But if we really look beyond us, everyday life, there's somebody being born and there's somebody dying.
Yeah.
There's
it's just
the balance.
Natural. It's natural.
It's just that some of us.
Yeah. Why do we are so afraid in the middle here?
Some of us have been fortunate enough, because I've had near-death experiences, to have been born, almost leave, be sent back, go, okay, I'm ready to go, and then somebody at the door goes, no.
It's a little-
No, not your time
yeah,
yet.
yeah.
And you're like, really?
Yeah.
Because before you continue, because I want to hear all your story.
Yeah.
When I had some technical problems with my body after cancer, and I had to go in and get surgery, but I was bleeding out, and I almost died.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but apparently in the emergency room, I flatlined twice. I do remember lights. I do remember voices. I do remember people. Not the people that were there, but and I've been an intuitive reader, and I'm a Reiki master, and so I feel like I'm very in touch with my spirituality. As soon as I came back, before they took me to my room, I'm reading the nurses.
That's who you are.
And one of them asked Christian, is like, does he always do this? And he's like, yeah. It's like, he's dying, so he's reading people. It's like, that's what he does.
Yeah.
But I feel like some of us have been fortunate enough to have those experiences.
Fortunate.
Because we come back and we go, no, you're
Yeah.
missing the point.
Yes.
So now share your part.
Well, where I was going is, I have faced death multiple times. And each and every one of them was excruciating. And each and every one of them gave me a renewed sense of self and a renewed sense of purpose of why am I here and what's life about. You know, the first one, seriously, to leave the hellfire and brimstone gospel church, you have to face your own mortality. Because when I stepped out those doors, basically I'm saying, according to them, I'm actually now stepping into hell, which is death.
Right.
I had to confront that and say, no, I'm not. I'm actually stepping into life.
Because that's all you ever knew.
Right. So that was facing death. Another transitional point in my life. I was homeless on the streets of Los Angeles in 1989.
Wow.
Working Santa Monica Boulevard. I was one of those youth that landed in Los Angeles and was homeless on Santa Monica Boulevard. Now, here's what made the difference for me. I was cognizant enough to know that if I was drinking through that period, because I was drinking a lot before that, if I was going to drink through that, I knew I would spiral down. So I didn't. I just, I was living out of my car. Someone saw me, a John, saw me for who I was, and I'm like, you're different. You're bigger than this. I got my job. I was still applying for jobs. I got my job. At the French Quarter Restaurant, a.k.a. French Marketplace in West Hollywood, and was there for 10 years. The best time of my life, really.
Wow.
But it was this man who gave me $400. Why am I crying so much? For my first apartment. And then I paid it back 2 years later. We can't do this life thing by ourselves.
Yeah?
We think we can, but we can't. Oh, we can, but not thrive. So that was transitional, pivotal. I was still working in the French Quarter Restaurant when I had testicular cancer. So I faced death then. The testicle was removed, but it had metastasized to a grapefruit-sized tumor in my abdomen. So we did chemotherapy on that. So I lost my hair for 4 sessions of that, 4 months. Wow. I went through the chemotherapy. Only the last month was the vomiting,
Wow. Good for you.
Facing death.
Good for you.
Honestly, I will say that was the biggest transitional point in my life. It really, really, really made the biggest difference in facing death and then living life. It really did make that difference. 1995, facing my mortality in my spiral down in addiction. Faced my, death through that and then into recovery. 2007, being HIV positive since 1989, doing it holistically and being in good health clear up to 2007.
Wow.
Stress got me. Seriously.
Yeah?
Stress got me. And my numbers went down. My T cells went down, my numbers went up. And a parasite got through. And, but in that transition, when the numbers went there, I finally went, okay, great. And this is actually what made the difference. I was a holdout. I was like, I'm not sure about this medicine. But it was when we're still getting comfortable with the new cocktail.
Right.
When my T cells were 97, and my doctor once again said, are you ready now? And I paused.
Wait. Your T cells were at 97, and you didn't want to go on medication?
Correct.
Dang.
My mother, I believe in holistic.
Yeah.
Hold on. I also believe in both. But it's about being conservative and considering things. Don't jump on the next bandwagon. So here's actually what, this is how it played out in my life. When I considered it, you know what was right there? The voice of all my sponsors had ever said, how can you be of maximum service? And I said to myself, I don't think that being dead is how I can be of maximum service. And I just looked at him and I'm like, I'm ready.
I'm no doctor, but yeah, I think that's right.
But you have to work your own process.
Yeah.
I don't judge people for their own processes anymore.
Yeah.
I have the freedom to work my own process, and I'm a better man because of it.
Yeah. There's another me that's going, wow, that's really cool. The educator side of me is going, what?
You are in control. You have given the power of choice. Mm-hmm. I've given the power of choice. This is my body. My medical, so there's that. And so that is basically the most recent version of facing death. The other thing I want to talk about facing death is, my oldest sister in Arkansas, her husband is a minister, and he was always kind of like the hard ass, because the Knights aren't always hard ass. They can be very, believe it or not, they can quite accepting. Well, he tended to be a little more toe the line. And 2 years ago, he went through colon surgery, cancer surgery. Yeah. And the first surgery wasn't successful. Oh. They had to go back in. And he literally flatlined and came back. And what he says, his experience during that was, as he was nearing, that being gone, he was realizing he was trying to pull it together. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. And he said, I realized I was trying to do it. He said, in that moment, I turned it over to God. And then he said, immediately I had peace. And I realized I wasn't partnering with God as I could or should have been. And that was when he came back. And you know what? He was one of my least favorite brother-in-laws. Now he's one of my favorites. He's a changed man because of it. He still believes his religion, but he's softened. He's about love now. Yeah. I wanted a point to turn it over and actually trust in a God that works for us. That's what I got in the 12-step programs. Not just saying it. You have to live actions based on that. A life that actually trusts and believes in a God that works for me. Yeah. What's that look like? And my actions need to follow suit.
Yeah. There was something I was going to mention about when we talked about the 12 steps a little bit. It's like, you're right. It gave me the foundation that I needed.
Yeah.
And then it gave me the permission to build the house that I wanted.
Yeah.
And I get to remodel and redo it as I need to. And I'm okay with that.
I like that.
I don't need to live under this blueprint that they gave me. They just said, here's the foundation, dude. Do whatever you want.
Right.
But that's why I went to rehab, so they could teach me how to live in the world without using
fundamental principles of living.
And I did. So I said, okay, you know what? I think I have what I need.
Yeah.
I'm going to go walk around for a little bit. Go see the rest of the carnival.
Can I just say something? Like, one thing I've always done, even when I go to a meeting now today, people are like, went out and come back or fresh in. I kid you not. You ask anybody who knows me, I will walk up to them and like, how was it? Is it worth me going out? For me, I do it for them, but also for myself. I have to hear how painful that is.
Yeah.
Not from like really. You know, it's like, what was that like?
Yeah. There's a couple of websites that I'm on when people come back on the Facebook page or the other apps and be like, I relapsed. I'll probably message them. I go, so how was the research?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
what'd you learn?
One thing I also want to touch on, and this is actually key, and I really want to speak to my... Again, I'm put on this planet for male sexuality, so I'm going to speak to my sober brothers. Sisters, listen, you can grow from this. Specifically to my gay sober brothers. How many guys have said, how can you put yourself in these drug dens? How can you put yourself in highly addictive and dangerous situations, potentially?
Right.
That's all perception, right? And be okay, you know, whether it's with clients or sex clubs or, you know, different parts of the country, you know? I want to give you an example. Again, another thing, I'm a trained shaman, which is we heal people. And a life coach. So everywhere I've given my life in the interest of touching people's lives. I'm a horny motherfucker. So, you know, I'm in New York City, and I'm going to this, you know, the Bijou Theater in New York City. Most people don't know about it. It's downstairs in the basement. It's so fucking cool. It's dark and seedy. And, yeah. And I'm horny. I want to, you know, I'm here for my sex. And I'm going into these little cubicles, and there's one hot guy's in this cubicle, and I go in there and we start playing around, and he's wearing a jockstrap, and I'm going to, you know, and he's basically holding himself back sexually. He's like, oh, no, I don't do that. I'm like, you're wearing a jockstrap, you're looking like this, you're in a sex club, but you don't do that. And I just smelled it. And I went, you're high, aren't you? He was like, yeah. I said, you want to have sex and you want to get your sexual needs met, but fucking crystal meth has turned against you, hasn't it? He's like, oh my God, yeah.
Wow.
I said, I'm 23 years sober. I know that game. I know where you're at. And you know what? And I said, I'm a horny pervert, and I get my sex needs all the time. 23 years into sobriety. You don't have to go to that drug to get your sexual needs met. You can do it without. That was about all the words that I gave him. You know what we did?
What?
I gave him a hug, and I held him for 2 full minutes. Without words. And this was my goodbye. I says, my name is Ray Dalton. If you need me, look me up. Two months later, I got an email. Porn stars, of information's out there. You can get a hold of it anywhere. I got an email. And one of the most wonderful gifts any human being has ever given me. It said, I'm 21 days sober. I've been to a CMA meeting. And I want to thank you for my life. And he wrote a poem.
Oh.
I don't have time to read it, but it was the poem, and in it, it talks about the angel. The angel that showed up at the Bijou Theater in the guise of a tattooed 23-year sober porn star. Does life get better than that? Is there anything more important or more fulfilling than showing up for your life purpose? Remember, I was a horny motherfucker walking in there. And I walked out without sex. I was good.
That wasn't your...
That was it.
That wasn't the motive to go to that.
And I had to be present to be cognizant of, that's why God had me go there that day. So I say to my sober brothers, if you're horny, parallel conversations, and always looking to touch people's lives, you can go into situations that are seemingly dangerous and be okay. Because you'll know when it's time to walk out, and you'll know when it's time to look at somebody and give them a hug.
Yeah, that's one thing that my teacher, who's in Hawaii now, hello Ruth, after I became a Reiki master, she always said that I was a little more advanced than what. By the time she was going to teach you something, I was like, well, I'm doing this. She's like, well, that's what I was going to teach you today. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, you have a gift.
And there's hundreds to count, but we're going to go one place. It doesn't work out. We end up in another place.
Yeah.
And I just happen to meet somebody there, or our server, or the door guy, or and I'm like, excuse me. and they're always, more than once, I was like, is somebody watching? Like, is this like a Teresa Caputo moment?
Right.
I'm like, no, there's no cameras.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Does this make sense to you? And they're like, yes. I'm like, okay, then the message was for you. And
that's right.
And my friends usually go, yeah, well, that's why we're here. Like,
isn't that amazing?
It's
that's a fulfilled life.
For a lot of people, it's unbelievable. But I get home and I'm like, my energy levels are high. And I feel like I've done something that day. Even if all I did was go to the grocery store. I did something.
A Course in Miracles says that's a miracle. And if we're not experiencing miracles, our eyes are not open. Every day, all day long, my life is full of miracles. And I guess that I see that yours is as well.
My best is finding skeptics.
Is what?
My favorite is finding skeptics that I've been into them and they're like, I don't believe in that. I'm like, think of me as entertainment. Sit down. I need to talk to you. And they walk away crying or texting their friends right away.
Well, it's up to us to be that open space. Just space for people to be.
Would you say that we're kind of rounding out the conversation because we're almost out of time?
Yeah.
Would you say that that's kind of what we're talking about in the beginning? It's some people are asked to march. Some people are asked to stay behind and cook. Some people open people's eyes one way and we do it another way. So you've got to just accept it, that that's who you are and what you're doing.
It's like, what's our path? What are we up to? Now, having said that, I do this in these ways that I'm doing, just to kind of like, I'm also starting an organization to reduce suicide, alcohol, and drugs in the adult industries. I'm also writing a TED Talk on male sexuality. So these are world organizations.
We're going to have to talk more after this because I want to be involved in some of your stuff.
And right now I'm the cusp of having my break. Getting in business, that's actually going to give me freedom, and it's, a lot of, anything you believe in, anything what you're committed to yourself in your life, you got to sink your teeth into it. It's going to take a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Staying true to your commitment. It's our commitments and context for life which pulls me through, which pulls us through. It's like, what am I committed to? Who am I? What am I up to? You know what I mean?
So we're going to go over a little bit. Do you mind?
That's fine.
All right, cool. Because this comes just too good. Because we passed the point of that question. So about this time, I usually ask my guests to send some words of wisdom to the listeners. So Don Raber or Ray Dalton, or somewhere in the middle, what words of wisdom do you have to share?
Know yourself. Know thyself. If you don't know yourself, what context is there for making any life choices? When we know who we are, when we know why we're here, when we know what we're up to, then every decision, everything, every action then is cognizant with that.
Yeah.
Know yourself. And if you don't know, Find out. Ask questions. Ask for help. Say to somebody. Go to a professional. Go to a friend. Go to somebody who has a sense of self and go, how did you figure that out?
Speaking of knowing yourself, when was the last time you looked in the mirror and you didn't recognize yourself?
That's an interesting question. What do you mean, recognize yourself?
You know, sometimes we look in the mirror and we've gone through so much changes, or we've gone so far away from our basic that we're like, what?
You mean like kind of shocked that how did I get here kind of thing?
Yeah, whether good or bad.
It was it's very interesting. I have to say it was in that period of my spiral in my drugs and and alcohol abuse. You know, I'm not one of those people since then that, you know, can't look in the mirror. I've not always been comfortable with myself, but I will say it was that, you know, and for me to say it's been 23 years,
Right.
blows my mind.
That's pretty crazy.
And what that means is that for 23 years, I've been giving myself good experiences, and bad experiences, growing through them, creating better experiences. And putting this together creates a momentum. It's the simplest way to say it. It creates momentum. And it gives me space and freedom, and more space and freedom, and more space and freedom, and believing in oneself.
Yeah.
Because what I see, and this is, again, you know, it's a dichotomy. I'm a speak dichotomy. I see this high emphasis on numbers of time, sober time in programs.
Right.
And that is actually what hinders some people. But there is also value to stringing time together, because what I actually see in 23 years is that when people do this, go in and out, they don't gain that momentum.
Right.
I want momentum. Do you?
Yeah.
String it together. That's the simplest way. Don't judge. Don't anything else. Do you want the momentum? String it together.
Because when I wanted, my first target was 5. I wanted to get to 5.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, shit, let's go for 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now I'm like 15.
Yeah.
Let's go for it. It's just like when I did, I'm 18 years HIV positive. When I turned 15 positive, I had a quinceañera cake made for you.
I love it.
Yeah. And
that's awesome.
I was
culture.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I was going to have a
culture.
quinceañera party.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that was when I was going through cancer and we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But I was like, at least I can have a cake.
Yeah.
So I had a cake made for my quinceañera. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's about celebration.
I will do that too when I go 15 sober. So.
We know how to look at a shit cake and make it a lemonade, you know? Yeah. You know.
Okay. I had another question. So movies, presentations,
Yes.
conferences, workshops, book?
Yes, all my life. I kid you not. At 21, people said, "Oh, you got to write your story." So I'm 51, and at 21, they've been telling me constantly, "Write a book, write a book, write a book," and I knew that was in the books. So what I've done is I've begun by writing my TED Talk, and the way I'm writing my TED Talk is writing short essays, and I realize that this is now also experiences that will go into my book. So I realize that now what I'm doing is writing short essays, and at some point it'll all be put into a book.
What's the title of the book?
Oh, I have no idea.
If you could make up one.
I'm just going to say, Know Thyself.
I think that's an excellent title for you. I think so.
I don't know, that's just...
Yeah.
Look at people around you. You can tell the people who know who they are. My Uber driver, when I got here from Fort Lauderdale, my Uber driver, my God, 27 years old, great sense of self. We had this dialogue, this back and forth. Oh no, let me add something to correct it. And it was like, okay, we was this great dialogue, and he could hold his own. And I'm like, and I told him, good on you. You are good. You know,
not
it's
everybody
like
can.
Everywhere.
And everybody can.
Yeah.
So if you go back and talk to Don on that night, loading that car before he drives off, what would you tell him?
It's the premise of what I said, what this is about. Don't settle. Don't settle for less than who you are. Don't settle for less than your life purpose. And the first person in my life who I heard that from was my first friend in Los Angeles, Bob Kaesler. And that was the words he gave me. We get words from everybody, people in my life. He died of AIDS and AZT. It was this combination. Was it AZT killing him or was it AIDS killing him? He also had a crystal meth addiction about 3 times a year. It wasn't constant, and I will never forget that. The words he gave me was, why settle?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a truth to shut up and listen.
Yeah.
If you shut up and listen sometimes, man, you get the messages from everywhere.
Everywhere. Every person we interact can be the next message, the messenger, the next angel, the next miracle.
I had to learn that my opinion was not always the best one.
First of all, it's not the only one.
And I was like, what?
Yeah,
you mean I'm not the smartest person in the room?
Yeah. But you have a right to your opinion.
Yes.
But it's not always the only.
That was always asked for. Shut up and listen. Yeah. Someone might ask questions because you're so interesting. I want to keep asking. But what does the word success mean to you?
Ooh, living your passion. Success. Living your passion, knowing who you are, being in touch with humanity, your humanity and the humanity of others. Creating organizations and businesses that thrive and are of interest to yourself and others.
So before we go to the last one, and I think if anybody is appropriate to give some pointer on this, would be you. Based on what you've talked about your story and getting to Los Angeles and everything that you went through to get to where you are now and who you are now. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we live in a city that has a lot of youth, especially homeless youth, and used, abused, mistreated. They develop mistrust. They're angry. They're ashamed. And there's anyway, and go on. If you could look in the camera and send a message to some of those young people that maybe will run across this video or listen to this about survival, keep going, what would you tell them?
There's hope. I've been there. When I was homeless on the streets of Los Angeles, a 21-year-old, I didn't know of all the amazing, countless services there at my fingertips. I was even afraid to go to the Gay and Lesbian Center. I don't know why. I don't remember what it was. I remember being afraid to go to the Gay and Lesbian Center. Reach out. Ask for help. Now, when I say ask for help to actually grow as a human being. Not necessarily for a free handout, but actually for a sense of purpose. Like, what can I do to help and how can you help me? How can we grow? It's really about the we factor. If you've come from other parts of the country and you're in Los Angeles, well, this goes for any big metropolis, and you get in, and your background is less than wonderful, dare I say, you're here now. I'm interested in you. Are you interested in you? I'm going to finish this with telling you what I heard, and this changed my life, amongst many different things. By the mere fact that we are born, we deserve love. I want to say that again. By the mere fact that you are born, you deserve love. Not because of what you did, not because of what you're doing, not because of your family, not because of where you're going. You're born, you deserve love. Stand up and be counted.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
We're out of time, but this is not the last time I'm going to bug you to be on my show. I think this has been one of the best conversations I've had in a long time.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Because I know who I am. Seriously. It's really, that's the core.
Now, I will put it out there. When I got here, you were like, hold on. Let me get myself. I'm like, it's going to be fine. Don't worry. Like, it's going to be good.
Because I was creating the space.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I recognized it. I was like, okay, do whatever you need to do.
Right.
I'll get you there. Don't worry.
Right.
But thank you so much.
Yeah.
To me, you're Ray. So,
Yeah.
Because that's how I met you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to touch people's lives, to give people hope, let people know that their struggles are not for nothing. Mm-hmm. That's what this is all about. People matter. I matter. You matter.
Thank you. And you had to hear that today.
Yeah.
So before we go, where can they find you? Where can they reach you?
They can find me on Don Raber Facebook. They can also find me on Ray Dalton Facebook. My Twitter, which is the fun one, at Ray Dalton XXX. And there's more, but that's a good,
Yeah.
Also, I have a Don Raber Life Coach Facebook.
Okay.
So any of those are ways that you can reach me.
And as you folks know, once this airs, you will find all the links and information to reach him on the Facebook account. So make sure you go to Put It Together Podcast, like the page so you can get information whenever we update it. If you're watching the video, scroll down. It's all down there. You can click on any of the links and it'll be there for you. So Don Raber, Ray Dalton, thank you for being on the show today. I so appreciate it. Thank you.
It's my pleasure, Daniel.
For everybody listening and or watching, I want to thank my producer, Mr. Kevin Moyers, for his help and support. Thank you, sir. Go check us out at abnormalentertainment.com. You can find shows on the network, also on my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube page at Daniel G. Garza or at Little Mexican. You can find everything there. For now, thank you, sir. Everybody, this is Daniel G. Garza saying, hey, put it together.
This is how I put it together.
This is how I put it together.
This is how I put it together.
Subscribe to Put It Together on iTunes, Stitcher, and at abnormalentertainment.com/putittogether. Find Put It Together on Facebook and tweet Daniel at Lil Messican, LILMESICAN. And for more podcasts, comics, books, movies, and more, head to abnormalentertainment.com.
You've been listening to the Abnormal Entertainment Network.